Everyone wants to take their business, their skills, to the next level. Small and mid-sized business owners have exceptional insight into how to do this. They endure and thrive because they find ways to overcome the challenges that come their way, and they can teach us valuable lessons to apply to our own companies and lives. Stephen Nooner, founder and owner of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. And Bob Gibbons, builder of Riata Commercial Realty, a real estate advisor and tenant advocate, are two prominent Metroplex businessmen who, along with their weekly guests, will ask their and your probing questions, finding impactful solutions that will help you reach for the next level. Here are your hosts, Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons.
Welcome, everyone, to the already off to a great start. Welcome to the next level. This is Stephen Nooner
and Bob Gibbons, and we're here with another interesting day when Stephen can't speak coherently.
A long day.
Could be. Well, we're here with our guest, Henry Exall. Henry is an attorney with Exall and Wood, and Exall and Wood is an interesting firm. They're a small boutique firm, have 10 attorneys or so. And they specialize in mergers and acquisitions, security, private placements, public offerings, JVs, all kinds of stuff. And I was looking at their website, Stephen. You're going to find this interesting. I was interested in the kind of industries that they work in. And their list was impressive. Private equity, logistics services companies, oil field services companies, specialty foods, crowdfunding portal technology company. That sounds pretty impressive.
You caught my interest there.
Publicly traded Indian company. So now we're talking international. Nanotechnology-based medical device company. Exploration, global supplier of precision parts to aerospace, defense, and homeland security, and green energy management services company. I'm totally intimidated now.
You did a really good job of reading his website to the audience.
I edited that. That was not verbatim even. Welcome, Henry. Glad you're here.
Welcome. Thank you.
So glad
to be here.
Well, we like to start off with the wisdom of others. And you provided a great quote by Henry Ford, but I was more intrigued by another quote that I saw here. And it says, also provided by you, and it says, being an entrepreneur is about being a surfer, not a mathematician. Planning is good, but listening to the market and changing fast is great.
Is that really? Right. Did you really say that? Are you that witty?
I don't know if I'm that witty, but I did say that, and that's been a kind of a learning for me out of the whole experience, actually.
So tell us, what's the whole surfer mathematician thing?
So, as an attorney, you're brought along, I suppose, to solve problems sort of in more of a mathematical fashion, because for the most part, there's a best answer. And it may not be, mathematically precise, but you can come to an analytically correct answer. And it's based on, a set group of cases or other authorities overlaid on a fact pattern, right? And in entrepreneurial pursuits, not so much, right? Because there's not an exact right set of principles. It's just different every day, and it depends on what the market says it is, and the market changes. So what I have found is that being an entrepreneur is not like solving a math problem, and there's an exact right answer, right? It's more about just getting in there every single day, blocking and tackling, listening to the feedback you get from the market, and then being willing to change really, really fast. That's what that's about.
Yeah, that's two different sets of skills for sure.
Yeah.
Are you a surfer?
I'm learning.
Are you really?
Yeah. Literally? No. I have surfed. I have surfed. Can believe it or not, and only recently. My daughter, although can kill me. She's 11 years old and she can surf.
That's cool. They're going to be opening up a surf park in Austin, Texas. So go check that out. It's
okay.
It's pretty cool. Go to just the letter inland something, inland surf.
Don't look at me with a
I can't remember.
Scrunched face.
Anyway,
I have no idea.
It's just dial up inland surf in
Got it.
Austin and you'll find it. It looks like it's going to be pretty cool. I can't wait.
like
Any
it.
yellow pages under surfing, Bob?
I like it.
What are yellow pages?
I'm sure my daughter already knows.
Hey, so I was disturbed by something that what you gave us in your resume. You're a fourth generation Henry. Number one, that's not the disturbing part, but you're also, they all have been attorneys.
Yeah, that
Really?
is actually true.
That's amazing.
Is that by pressure? Like you will be
Do you have
an
any choice?
attorney? I mean,
No, actually it was not. My father was brilliant about not putting any pressure or expectations on me. And that in retrospect is not easy to do when you have a long line of, history behind you. But it just so happened that it worked out that way, I guess. I mean, I can't speak for the prior generations, but for me, it was really because of my respect for my father and his experiences that I basically followed, and I thought it was a good course. I didn't have anything else that was passionately drawing me, but I followed it for that reason. By the way, on that point, they all were attorneys by education and by practice for a while, but they all got off into entrepreneurial pursuits.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of an interesting bookend because now I kind of think of myself as an entrepreneur, but within the legal field. They weren't entrepreneurs in the legal field. They did other things that are entrepreneurial.
Do you have a son named Henry?
I do.
Really?
He is. He's the fifth.
Do you call him Henry or do you call him something else?
I call him, depending on the day. And now he's behaving.
All right,
I call him
When he's a
Hank.
baby, did you put him asleep with tort law?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It doesn't take long. No, I call him
Baby?
Hank or Cinco or a variety of pet names.
Cinco's
That's
a pretty
cute.
powerful one.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, so obviously we've established, Bob read your website, and we were all clear that you guys are in the field of law. But I know that you talk a lot about the industry being broken.
Mm-hmm.
What's broken, and what are you guys really doing different?
Right. Well, great question. So I am an attorney and I do practice, but increasingly what this is all really about is creating a better mousetrap for other lawyers who are kind of like what they call PLU, people like us, right? And they think and act the same way. And what we are really all about is trying to correct a market problem that exists at the top end of the legal field, especially at very, very large firms. So, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago probably, the big firms figured out astutely that their best place in the world was servicing ginormous clients, like Fortune 1000 type clients, and that the rest of them were sort of interesting but a distraction away from that. So very large clients are concerned about tons of resources, international resources. They're not credit risks. They're not cost sensitive. And so they astutely realized, hey, why don't we reduce the number of clients we've got and really cross-sell everything we've got into them. In addition to all those other things I mentioned, one of the other sort of learnings from that, I'm not sure they knew it originally, but it became obvious, is that reduces the ownership base. So the number of owners in the firm, which historically at larger firms might have been anywhere from half to a third of the firm, became concentrated way, way down from that. So it's great for those guys who own those big relationships. And for the rest of the group, though, not so much. But for the rest of that group, there's really not been many good alternatives in our area. Now, there are good alternatives in like litigation, let's say, or estate planning, even IP, intellectual property. But in the corporate and real estate transactional area, there hasn't really been another game in town. So people have been trapped there. And so what we are really all about, in a nutshell, is creating a bookend experience for those folks who are senior level people at those firms now. And maybe they're not in that top, we are the true owners of the firm, but they're the next level down. And they're the difference between that old third or and a half and the, very small percentage of the people who are the owners. And their experience ain't so great. And we're figuring out how to make a much greater, how to correct the problems they're experiencing in our platform. So my business is about that.
So you see your real client as being an attorney, a senior level attorney in another firm.
That is correct.
A giant firm.
That's correct. And in the truest sense of the word, what we are is a category killing, best in class provider of legal services to the right kind of attorney. And that's important, that it be the right kind of attorney. It's not just everybody.
And so your model is built around the attorney, obviously. So what's different in the model for them? So they're burning and turning and getting turned and burned, working a gazillion hours, not having the benefits of ownership. What's the alternative that you guys provide?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, right, we're all about focus. So other firms in general and big firms in particular are all about being all things to the right people, which are the big giant firms, right? And not particularly focused. We are focused on the following things. One is very top caliber people. So you're not going to find anybody at our firm who isn't or hasn't been a partner at one of these large firms. We are focused on only a couple of very narrow areas as opposed to everything under the sun. So we focus and we are aspiring to become the category killing alternative in those areas. And that's real estate and corporate transactional work. And then we focus on a mission. So the truth is, this is sad, but it's the truth about our profession, is that the vast majority of firms don't really have a mission other than enriching the lawyers in the long run. And they want to be there for their clients, but when it comes right down to it, if it comes down to between like cutting a client and cutting their salary, they're going to cut the client. It's not like about, wow, we really care that much. So they care to a point. And we are about trying to foster a mission which has two parts. One is bringing in the right kind of lawyers and providing them with a uniquely great experience from a practice standpoint with other very sophisticated, experienced practitioners, A-type lawyers, the opportunity to have a sophisticated lifestyle, a client base, a sophisticated lifestyle, and just be around people you like. And then finally, we provide a ton of support. So those are sort of the elements I think that are lacking sometimes at the bigger firms. Support by support, I just mean support for their own business development initiatives. They're not the Fortune 1000 clients they're going after, but we'll support the heck out of them to go find out who it is they want and help them get them.
So you don't really compete with the big firms when it comes to hiring the top of the class that just, graduated from UT
No,
law?
in fact, I mean, the line starts for us in terms of applying at about 10 years out.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a benefit to that for our clients that flows into all this, which is there's sort of an interesting thing that goes on within the law, and I have to scratch my head sometimes about why it's allowed to continue, but training young lawyers is a losing proposition for the client, for sure, because their rates may be lower, but they're way inefficient, and they're getting paid crazy high salaries. So there's an enormous amount of pressure to bill more than they really probably should be billing of their time to the clients.
Well, not only that, I was frustrated with the big firms, years ago when I talked to the partner about what we needed, and then he would go talk to the associate about what I needed and would bill both of them while that conversation was going on. And then the kid does the work and then goes back and being reviewed by the partner. And then, it just seemed like there was
horribly inefficient.
Very inefficient.
Terribly
and I was getting
inefficient.
billed like crazy.
Yes.
When I should have just gone to the individual who's really going to do the work and saved myself about 5 or 10 hours.
Much better ride from a client experience standpoint and a better price point too. So in other words, you pick up the phone, you call somebody, half the time they've got the answer right then and there. And if you need something drafted up or done and they do it, it's going to be done much quicker from a turn time standpoint, much more cost effectively. But there's an old way of thinking, and lawyers are sort of trapped into this old way of thinking, which is all around, we've got to take young attorneys and train them. And it's not a winning proposition for anybody involved, but, it is for the young attorneys.
Yeah.
But for the clients or the senior attorneys, but they still do it.
So what's the biggest challenge with your model?
Just awareness right now. We're relatively new in this whole enterprise.
I'm sorry, awareness with the other attorneys or awareness with the clients?
Just with the other attorneys.
Okay.
So from my perspective, I am trying to attract that group of attorneys I'm talking about, and it's awareness amongst those guys. It's also awareness amongst clients because, again, we're a new firm, and we haven't done a whole lot of marketing until now. We're in the middle of rolling out our first marketing campaign coming up this month.
Nice.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, we're going to go to a break. Before you do, what do you do when you're building a new type of law firm where successful attorneys can have better balance, but in the process of building it, you lose yours? Stick around.
And now, Confessions of a Recovering Landlord.
This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and I am your recovering landlord. After 20 years as a landlord, I now use that experience only for the benefit of companies that lease or buy office buildings and warehouses. Today's confession: knowledge is power. We all negotiate from a position of power and strength, or at least we want to. In any negotiation, the party with the most knowledge probably has the upper hand. And landlords count on this being the case whenever you're negotiating a lease, because most landlords are professional real estate investors and they hire professional leasing agents and property managers. Landlords are in the market every day negotiating leases, while tenants probably only negotiate 1, maybe 2 leases every few years. So tenants feel outgunned. Don't let landlords have all the power. As a former landlord for 20 years, I understand how landlords think and what motivates them. So let me put that knowledge and experience to work on your side of the negotiation. To learn more, contact me at texastenantrep.com. Again, that's texastenantrep.com.
Have you started making plans to take your business to the next level in 2016? Hi, I'm Stephen Nooner, founder and CEO of Alkali. We have a trademark process called the Empowered Advantage that enables CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to more effectively buy and manage their insurance. Before sitting down to make your plans for the new year, here are just a few things to consider. Would you say that you have an actual insurance strategy, one that you can articulate, or have you just purchased a policy here and there over the years? If you have an insurance strategy, was it discussed under the pressure of a renewal deadline or considered earlier in the year to avoid fire drill decision making? If your answer was no to either of these questions, then you may not have the right partner on your team. Visit alkaliservices.com to contact us and take the next step to a bigger and better future.
Hi, I'm Jamie Crosby, CEO and founder of Proactivate. We help sales leaders sleep better at night by helping them protect and propel their revenue as it relates to sales talent. I'm not sure Bob and Steve really slept well the night before our interview, though.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Next Level. We are here with our special guest, Henry Exall, founder and managing partner of Exall and Wood. To go visit them, please check out Exall, EXALL, Wood, WOOD.com. Sorry for the spelling on the wood.
I'm surprised you didn't spell wood.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
I'm not paying attention to you as usual.
That's why I
All
apologize.
right, so let's get back to what you were saying just before we went to break. Henry, you were talking about that you're starting a marketing campaign. And so are we going to like see you on the back of buses and on park benches and that kind of stuff, your face?
With a 20-year makeover facelift and my yellow page cover.
Not so much.
Glamour shots for
Not
attorneys?
so much.
The wood hammer.
I think the face makeover is probably a lost cause anyway. We've been working with a great law firm named Schiele Marketing.
Law firm?
Scary, advertising firm. We are a law firm. We're working with a good marketing firm called Schiele Marketing, and they've done a wonderful job of helping us think through the complexities in reaching the audience that we're trying to reach, not just everybody. To your point, it's not. It doesn't lend itself to the type of marketing that you would commonly associate with marketing firms.
Sure.
Because it's a business-to-business sell, and it's a business to relatively sizable business sell. But they've done a great job of helping us think through that. We're redoing our entire website, so thank you for the plug on our website. It's in the midst of being redone right now.
Well, Schiele Marketing is a client of mine. Has been for quite a long time.
We don't hold it against them.
And Schiele has been a guest here, and she's what we call a next leveler. So if you've been on the show, you're considered a next leveler. So she's been on the show.
We're on a club together.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely nuances to legal marketing that most of us don't really know about if we're not in that business.
Yep.
So it's cool that she's specialized and is helping you do that.
Yep, she's really done a great job. And in addition to that, she's helped our folks on their business development efforts. So she's kind of a good one-stop shop for folks like us, and it's really pretty compelling from a standpoint of offerings.
And is she working, also like really, are you targeting then the attorneys then? Your new website, is that really kind of the messaging for them?
Not so much. You wouldn't. That's a very logical thought, but so there are differing levels of our campaign because we are, at the end of the day, also a provider, our firm is, of legal services to the end user, the client. So we've got to kind of do both. So our website is a little bit different than many in the respect that when you went to the landing page, it would feel a lot like any other law firm. I hope we're a little bit more innovative, but a lot like them in the respect of talking about the reason clients would like us. But we have more features to the website, such as pages and other kind of hooks that kind of, I hope, explain to the target audience that we're after from an attorney standpoint about why we're what we are and why they should think about joining.
Nice. So I've seen in the papers recently, I don't even remember the name of it, but some giant law firm just got acquired, and they're in a worldwide law firm now. Are you seeing a lot of consolidation in the legal practices area?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. There is a lot of consolidation in the top end of the legal profession. The same portion that I'm focused on from an attorney attraction standpoint. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a draw there because there's an opportunity to service ever larger and larger clients in that Fortune 1000 I mentioned earlier, and including all their international operations and things that are in China or Russia or wherever. So that scale is important to a certain market segment. And then there's a disaggregation, I think, going on at the lower end of the market in terms of things going to a bit smaller size, because there are cost advantages in doing that. And so the rest of the market, from a client standpoint that's thinking straight, doesn't really need those resources that the big firm needs, but what they do care about is trying to right size their costs for their budget because they're not that big. And so there's that going on both end, disaggregation on the lower end, consolidation on the high end, and then the folks who are really suffering, in my experience, are the folks in the middle. You find me a firm with 150 or so attorneys, and they got real problems.
Interesting. What do you see as the problem? I mean, what's the problem for them?
Well, it's because the bigger firms, the larger they get, the more profitable they are from a standpoint of those owners, that senior class I talked about. So the more money they have to throw around on things like salaries, and they can buy in the most productive partners, guaranteeing them like money they could never get at a middle-sized firm, and the middle-sized firm just can't afford it. Meanwhile, salaries for the starting level associates are going up, and so if you want to A, compete for those folks, and B, just have the self-image that you've grown up with about being this, senior, this top-level firm, you have to continue to attract those people, which means you got to pay them what they're making. They're just not the dollars to do it. And meanwhile, clients are, it's one thing if you've got all these resources in your international scope and the client is a Fortune 500 company or something, but your average size company is just, they're not going to let you increase their costs on them just because you want to go hire in other partners and to continue to grow or pay starting associates higher.
So what's the scariest risk of bucking the trend and bucking the industry and starting something like what you're doing?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the legal profession here. I grew up in the large firm environment, so I have a lot of roots there. And it's how do you weather the scorn of the folks whose nest you're raiding?
Another quote. You're just full of them.
Gosh, I tell you, well, it's something I think about. That's the 3 a.m. Discussion I have with myself all the time. But that's a little disconcerting, just because it's hard. It's hard to go in the face of all of the peers you came up with and the institutions and the power structure.
And so far, have you felt any of that scorn? Because we have sort of a disruptive, but what we found is for myself, overplayed some of that, and most of them aren't paying attention. Maybe a couple have been losing some bigger accounts to us, and they're kind of maybe who are these guys? But I'm just kind of curious, are you feeling the scorn?
Not yet. And and I say yet because I'm sort of still braced for it. I've got to be because you've got to be emotionally, resourceful to withstand that sort of thing. But no, I think there's been a lot of complacency, and also we just haven't really been above ground from a noticeability standpoint. We've gotten folks, but it's been from their perspective one off there, one off here, one off there, and not sort of a threat. I think when we start marketing more and they start realizing that what we're after is their worker bees, there may be some of that coming my way. We'll see. But it is what it is.
Sure.
And whatever
come
what it may, we've got a mission. We've got that sort of evangelical zeal around trying to save lives, man. Because that's what we're doing. With these big firm attorneys, it's just a miserable experience. And we have a really cool opportunity to save a lot of lives. And it's worth it. It's worth the scorn.
Good. And that's a maybe perfect segue into the hook before we went to the show. So one of the things I thought was interesting is, you're building this firm, you're evangelical about this mission. But one of the things that you had shared kind of on the pre-show was that's a big challenge you're struggling with as you're building the company. So why don't you share a little bit about that and what you've learned from it?
Yeah. Well,
or learning from it.
the law, they always say the law is a jealous mistress, and that's true. But the greatest of the jealous mistresses is an entrepreneurial pursuit. It just blots out everything else, right, when you're building something from the ground up. And so I still have, young children. I have a wife who went through an illness a few years back during the time we've been in existence. And so we were sort of, full of this enterprise already, and in marching down the road, and people were like expecting and depending on us to make it all work. So uncomfortable times in terms of, the 15, 16-hour days at the office, day in, day out, the sort of 90-hour weeks, which is,
It's a lot.
it is what it is. But
Yeah.
I mean, to get something off the ground up, you just gotta have to expect a few of those.
Now, your wife works with you as well, I understand. She's an attorney.
She is. She is. She
Does
was.
that help or hurt?
No,
No, I don't mean in that was a setup. I didn't mean to ask it that way.
everybody's got an opinion. No,
No, I meant in the balance of life, because now you get to see her at home and at the office.
yeah, it's complicated. It's definitely more all in, because there's more kind of dinner table talk around the law firm than there would be otherwise. And I think that'll moderate, by the way. You just set up boundaries eventually. But again, it's been so all in during this period that there's just been the need to talk about stuff. No, it's been good though, because she happens to be an extremely high caliber lawyer. I mean, like at the highest echelons. Just got finished with a stint as the head of her section at the state bar, for instance.
Wow.
But it's been great from a standpoint of having her see what's happening every day. That gets her a little bit closer to the understanding of what's required here. And so when I get home late, I think she understands a little bit better.
Well, Stephen and I both work with our wives. In fact, we're going to do a show, I understand, here in a few months, where we have our wives come in and talk about what it's
good.
like to, work with us.
I mean, you got to fight for those relationships, so the company will. So we have 3 small kids. So just out of curiosity, so you've recognized this. What do you do constructively to try to keep that in the relationship with your kids healthy?
Right. Yeah. Well, I've gotten, I beat my head against the wall for a long time on it, and finally, at the beginning of this year, got myself associated with a coach. And I've used coaches through the years from time to time, kind of episodically, but a business coach. And, this person is oriented towards trying to help you set up boundaries and hold yourself really accountable to respecting the boundaries. A lot of it, it would wait for another day, but you don't feel like it would. So it's a perspective issue. It's standing back and getting perspective. So I've gotten that, and associated with that a practice that I do daily of stepping back and just reflecting, taking sort of 30 minutes no matter what. I don't care how pressing things are, just reflecting on life and my overall priorities. And that helps me keep centered.
What's next for you? If we're sitting here 3 years from now, what would you like to see happen?
Yeah, well, I'm very optimistic. We've been getting unbelievable response so far from the folks we've talked to. So now we're going public. I would like to see us be, sort of 3 or 4 times our size. I'd like to still be getting kind of like really good reports from my attorneys that they're, what we advertised was true is true, and that they're having a much better experience than they had before. I'd like to see a robust, waiting list. And when I say waiting list, I mean that because not just everybody can make it. And then I'd like to have more balance. I'd like to have observed that balance factor.
Well, Henry, thanks so much for being our guest today. We've
Thank
enjoyed
you.
talking with you. For our listeners, if you'd like to learn more about Henry's company, please go to exallwood.com. If you want to,
WOOD.
and if you want to know more about the show, go to nextlevelshow.com, and you can find us on social media and see who we're going to be interviewing next. And we'll see you next week.
Have a great week.
You have been listening to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business with Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons. Join us every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for more prolific conversations that will take your business to the next level.